Okay, welcome here, everyone. It is so good to see so many people coming from the community to learn, to understand, to share, to speak. So it's so good to have you here. My name's Andrew Wichnenka. I'm a facilitator with Viewpoint, and I was asked to MC and facilitate this meeting today because this evening's meeting is very important. It's an opportunity for people to connect, to have a voice, and to be heard. And so it's my goal to try and ensure that we stay on track and we can ensure that everybody here who has a question or a concern or something they want to share gets an opportunity to do that. So that's my role today. I want to take a quick shout out and just say welcome to Lauren and Delmar from MARP Media. They were at a previous meeting and said, you know what, these guys really need some help with audio. And so we didn't know they were coming, but we're happy they're here. And they've provided all the mics that we have today, and I believe they're trying to live stream the event as well. So thank you for being here, guys, and providing this amazing equipment so everybody in the back rows can hear us speak today. The agenda for this evening is very simple. We're going to do a quick introduction, some opening remarks from our 3 First Nations communities that are part of this initiative, followed by a presentation from the Canadian Parks and Wilderness Society, CPAWs. And then we'll have a little bit of a break, and then we'll go right into a question and answer time frame. So that's kind of the plan for this evening. So let's get started. So the Conservation Areas Initiative that we're looking at is being led by 3 First Nations, Fisher River Cree Nation, Peguis First Nation, and Kinonjeoshtegon First Nation. So I'd like to welcome first Chief David Crate, who is the chief for the Fisher River Cree Nation, has been chief for almost 30 years. Please help me welcome Chief Crate.
Not sure how. Oh, okay, I got it. Well, good evening, and very happy to see all of you this evening. Very good turnout for the information session. As mentioned, I'm from the Fisher River community. Some of you probably know me, but I've been with the community, serving the community for 30 plus years. And what we've been working on now for a number of years, the community, we've been heading up, trying to protect as much as possible, including the Fisher River, which, as many of you are aware, that we, almost on a yearly basis, we have flood situations which impact our communities. So we've been working on conservation area initiative for a number of years, but I'll give you a little background history on what's transpired with the work of our community. We've been able to work with government, both past governments, this would be conservative and NDP governments, on supporting the set aside, call it, of certain areas. We started off well over 50 years ago with the development of a plan for the Fisher Bay area. Some of you are familiar with the Fisher Bay area. It's on the west side of Lake Winnipeg. So we worked with government and on setting aside a portion of that area to bring it under permanent protection. And the government, through legislation, brought a new park forward, which is now called the Fisher Bay Park, and it's being proclaimed as a park now for a number of years. So, but what we had wanted with our discussions with government and also the stakeholders, which that's how I reference a lot of the different interests in the area as stakeholders, because we're all stakeholders in you know, what transpires in the Interlake region here. So we worked with them on losing my mind here, losing my train of thought, but we worked with government on setting aside that land, but we had proposed a larger area 15 years ago, and for whatever reason, government decided to make the area a lot smaller than what we had proposed for the Fisher Bay Park. So fast forward now to where we're at today, we are hoping that, you know, with the support of all the stakeholders, that we can look at protecting more areas in the Interlake region. So, and that's the reason we're here tonight. We want to hear, we need feedback from everybody that's here. We'd like to hear what are your concerns. And I was just mentioning to Chief Travers that, you know, there's certain areas here in the Arborg area that we may not be aware of, that you may want to bring forward as an area that you should tell us to look at. You know, there may be a specific thing or a special thing in the area here that you may want us to look at as a possible, you know, inclusion as a part of the protected area. So, but that's the main reason we're here tonight. We want to get feedback from the people that are here tonight. I'd like to hear your opinions and, you know, your recommendations on what potentially could become a protected area. So I'll leave it at that and just thank everybody again for coming out tonight. I'll give you a little background too, maybe before I pass the mic here. You know, Chief Bird's got a lengthy speech here, or 15 minutes, you said? Okay, we might not have that much time. But the work that we've been working with CPAWs for a number of years now on different initiatives. One being, of course, why we're here tonight is the Protected Area Initiative. And we've also worked with other organizations that support conservation initiatives. So, but I just wanted to make you that we're big. Our community is big on partnerships. You know, we're very happy to partner with companies, you know, private sector, individuals that want to, you know, work on conservation. So, but maybe I'll leave it at that. Starting to ramble here. But that's it, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chief Cree. Next up, I'd like to welcome and introduce Chief Stan Bird from Peguis First Nation. Don't push the button.
Hello. Sorry. Bonjour, Tanse. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having us here this evening. I want to acknowledge the town of Arborg and the surrounding areas. Thank you again for having us here this evening. My name is Chief Stan Bird. I'm the Chief of Peguis First Nation. I'm just towards the end of the second year of a 4-year term, so my first time being chief. But this is one of the initiatives, I guess, that became involved in shortly after taking office. And we thought it was important, just the idea of conservation, protection, been involved with So the idea of conservation, protection caught our attention, and we thought it would be a worthwhile endeavor to get involved with. So we're here tonight to be open to listen to ideas, try and answer all the questions that may be brought forward. Looking forward to a lively discussion. And again, our intent is not to disrupt lifestyles, but to protect ways of life, to protect areas. So with that, I won't go on much more other than sharing these few words with you. So again, miigwech for having us here, and looking forward to this evening. Miigwech.
Thank you, Chief Bird. And last but not least, I'd like to introduce and welcome Chief Tony Travers from Kinonjeoshtegon First Nation.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank you for having us here in the town of Arborg. As I said, as it was said earlier, my name is Tony Travers. I'm the Chief of Kinonjeoshtegon First Nation. I'd like to express my gratitude for CPAW for assisting us with this endeavor. As the previous chief said, that we're looking at expanding or looking at different avenues to protect the areas in the Interlake. I know that us as Kinonjeoshtegon First Nation band members, we're situated on the western shores of Lake Winnipeg. So the purpose of this meeting is to get some feedback from, I guess, the townspeople here and the surrounding areas. But anyways, thank you. All right. Bye.
So, thank you so much, Chief Travers. Wow, I gave you guys half an hour. You guys are good. That's good. We can keep moving along here. So next up, what I'd like to do is welcome and introduce two of our representatives here from CPAW. We have Ron Thiessen and Neil Bailey. Ron Thiessen is the Executive Director of CPAW Manitoba. And Neil Bailey is the Conservation Campaign Manager for this project. So please welcome Ron and Bailey. They'll be going over a presentation for the specific project to kind of let you know where we're at and kind of what's happened to this point.
Good evening, and thanks everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Next slide. The initiative is led by Fisher River Cree Nation, Kinonjeoshtegon, and also Peguis First Nation, and CPAW is a supporting partner. We're the helpers. We're helping to coordinate the project, and as Chief Crate mentioned, Fisher River and CPAW have worked together on a few things over the years. And so the goal of the initiative is to protect the health of the thriving landscape so it can continue to provide sustainable economic opportunities and to support our cherished lifestyles and cultures of everyone in the region. And some have asked, why do we need a conservation areas initiative? And the idea behind that is that we feel it's important to balance industrial pursuits, industrial extraction with conservation. So there's a balance on the landscape. And so, there's plenty of wildlife and the waters are clean, and future generations, our children, our grandchildren, etc., will have healthy places to use in the future. To play, to practice many of the outdoor traditions that people like to conduct on the land and water, and that's really important. And so the engagement process. So we started this some years ago, and we did a round one, we called of engagement, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment, but I'll show you the next slide, which shows you the 5 steps in the process, and we're on round 2, as you can see here. So round 1 was essentially going out to surrounding communities, stakeholders, letting people know the goals and objectives of the initiative, and just getting to know people and letting them know that we'll be once we've informed them of that, letting them know that we'll be coming back with a proposal, such as we are now, a draft proposal for discussion in the coming months. So that's where we are now at round 2. And this was a really great opportunity to meet a lot of people and to get a good sense of the various interests in this region. As we know, this is a very busy region. It's very populated. There's lots of things going on, many interests, so it was really helpful to get a sense of that. I was going to hand it over to Neil.
Thank you, Ron. Excuse me. Good microphone. Thanks, guys. Yeah, so in round one, we did a number of things. We had a different project manager at the time, Liz Murdoch, when things got kicked off. Liz did a number of interviews with elders from Peguis and from Fisher River, and through that, kind of wanted to get a sense of what the elders were saying about the landscape, about protection, and about plans for the future. So we have that document. Liz transcribed those interviews. They're on the project website, knowledge keeper summary that we have there. And since this was back in 2020, 2021, when we were doing round one, we had virtual open houses because something was going on. I don't know, we couldn't meet in person. But yeah, we had virtual open houses in the place of physical ones at that point. And then we had a whole bunch of meetings with stakeholders, 35 meetings with 28 different groups, and that list is growing every day. So if you are a stakeholder and we haven't contacted you, please do come and talk to us, because our goal and our direction from the chiefs has been to develop a plan that's in consultation with people in the communities. We also did at that point an online survey, also general at that point, trying to get a sense of what people's values were around conservation, what aspects of the landscape are important to protect, and what things they feel they might not want more of on the landscape as well. All of that is online with all the verbatim responses that we got. You can find that on the project website. If I keep hammering it home, maps and documents on the frcnconservation.ca website is where you can find anything I'm referencing here. That is what we heard. Thanks, Claire. So yeah, that's on the screen what we heard report that I just mentioned. We also did a publication called Community Voices. Looks like this one. You probably saw it at the front. And there we just had a contest online asking people, what is it that you love about the Interlake? What is it that you want to keep into the future and pass on to your grandkids? And kind of collected a bunch of those sentiments in that document. You can go to the next. So yes, for anyone who hasn't been here, this is our website. Anything that we're doing, any reports that we put out, we do post it here. So there's a lot of information there to dig through. We're happy to help guide you to what is most important to you. We can go to the next slide there. And yes, so that's the page, maps and documents in the drop-down menu. You'll find a lot of good information there. And yes, the initiative also has social media accounts associated with it, both Instagram and Facebook. So those are places we'll also be posting information in the future. Next slide there. And next, we will tell you about the draft proposal. So that's the green document, if you'd like to follow along, or the teal one. So this draft proposal, this is the result of the last number of years. The meetings we've had, the research that's been done by us and by others. A lot of that also available on the project website. And the goal of this part of the process is we wanted to get to a point where we had some broad strokes on a map that we could bring to communities in the region, and we could get feedback on what you think about those broad strokes. Those broad strokes are on the map by the door that you can probably see there, just the green areas on the map. So those are the areas we're considering because we know that there's some value, environmentally, culturally, etc., to maybe having some type of protection there. And we expect feedback, and we expect that to change. So thank you for being here. I hope to get as many questions as we can today. We also had a number of criteria that we used for coming up with those protected area suggestions. We wanted to protect sites of cultural, traditional, and community importance, recognize specific areas that play a large role in maintaining ecosystem health. With the protected areas in the region, we look for opportunities to make connections between them, corridors for animals and whatnot. And we obviously wanted to respect the priority of rights holders, stakeholders in the region, and come to a conclusion that works for as many people as possible and leaves the land in a better state into the future. Next slide. So this is the study area. We have had some questions about this, so we thought it was important to clarify. You'll see 3 pictures here. The one on the left, the rectangle, is Fisher River Cree Nation's traditional notice area. So what that rectangle is that's a notice area that Fisher River negotiated with the province a number of years ago. And essentially, the province has to do their due diligence just to let them know about large-scale developments on the landscape so that they can be informed and just have an opportunity to provide their opinion and feedback as well. Because nature is not a rectangle, we use that as the starting point for the region looking at opportunities for conservation. And we made the middle map, which is just all of the sub-watersheds of the 3 watersheds around Fisher Bay. That's where those sub-watersheds drain. So just a general conservation way of approaching the land is to not use straight lines and go with watershed boundaries. I know that we did have some people feel concern about the study area, including things that they didn't want to see protected. So just letting you know that only the green things are things that are even being considered, and we expect them to change. The study area is just that, the study area based on Fisher River's traditional notice area. And next slide, please. So this is just a quick overview on the areas that we have for consideration and for feedback. Area 1 here, this is in the northwestern part of the study area. This is one of the larger areas and one of the least developed parts of the study region around Fisher Bay there. We saw opportunities here with the existing Sturgeon Bay and Kinonjeoshtegon Bay provincial parks to obviously maintain those, but make some connections between them so that you have corridors and a lot of wild space for animals and people to move through. We also looked at the Mantag River there, heading down to the Montego Wildlife Management Area. We know that that's a well-used trapline area. It's got a lot of different users that use it, and as in our goals previously, we wanted to help protect waterways, and the Mantag River is one of those. And then we also looked at other things like the High Rock Lake area of special interest and proposed ecological reserve, not proposed by us yet, previously proposed. And so those were the main points that we were looking at in that area. Next slide. The second area here, this is around the lakes, Lake St. George, Lake St. Andrews, and the west side of Fisher Bay. This area, we were obviously looking at water again. A lot of the area around those lakes is already mining restricted. We're just looking at that area more generally to think about what the best way is to ensure that those lakes continue to do the job they're doing now for people and wildlife, and also including area around the coast of Fisher Bay there. And obviously this is close to and overlapping in some cases with lands of Kinonjeoshtegon, Peguis Treaty Land Entitlement Area, lands of Fisher River. So this is a collaborative project to figure out what best to do in that region to keep it healthy. Next slide. Third area we're looking at around Washoe Bay. This is, you can see how it's sort of jogs into the existing Fisher Bay Provincial Park. You know, we've been looking at some of the water bodies in this region. Obviously, we're not, as you can see, the brown there is most of the active peat harvesting leases. Our direction from Chief Crate and others was, you know, we're not dealing with those active peat leases as part of this program. So we're looking at areas that are not currently actively harvested there. And most of this is the Moose Creek Wildlife Management Area, which, you know, happy to share more information afterwards, but, you know, we have a lot of WMAs in the region. They are different from each other. Moose Creek is one that has fewer protections than others, and so we're looking at opportunities for potentially, having protection. And when I say protection, you know, we're not looking at protections from uses from land users. Most people on the land, like agricultural landowners, leaseholders, cottage leases. What we're mainly talking about when we talk about protection is protection from large-scale industrial extraction that would change the environment significantly. And this area, obviously Washoe Bay used to be have one of the healthiest calf cow populations for moose, hunting area 21A. Now, you know, not so much. So we know that habitat is a big part of keeping any species healthy, so that's part of what we're considering there, because everybody, I think, would like to see the moose back. Next one. This is the smallest suggestion we are making for your feedback. I'm sure a lot of people here are familiar with Sandy Bar, just, you know, across the water from Hecla Island, the spit there, popular angling spot. Also used to be a really popular spot for piping plover, but they are quite imperiled at the moment. So we're hoping that some type of protection that just mirrors what exists on the Hecla side there could be complementary and allow the angling and everything that goes on there to continue into the future. But yeah, it's also an important bird area that's been identified by other organizations, and any protection there would just be looking to mimic what's offered in Hecla. It kind of is, you know, in between a number of communities there. There is the Fish Road that goes south from Fisher River down towards Arborg. And we know that there is interest in that road from numerous people in numerous communities around here, you know, improving that road in some way in the future. We also know that Dallas and Red Rose and numerous other people have agriculture, have other land uses in the area. We know it's a popular medicine picking area. So in short, Fish Road is a lot of different users and will require a number of different conversations. But we wanted that if this road is to be developed in the area, we wanted there to be some type of plan in place for nature to be preserved while that is happening. And last one. And so this is the farthest south that we were suggesting anything at all. This is essentially a number of the wildlife management areas in the southern part of the region here. They are also alvars, which, if you haven't heard of an alvar, essentially it's a unique ecosystem where you have limestone cliffs and certain plants that only grow there on those cliffs. So obviously that is something that we wanted to see maintained. We didn't want to see those special places ruined. And this is a great example of, you know, these lands in a lot of cases, alvars have been part of community pastures, and that's quite a compatible use in everything that we understand. You know, cattle graze on the top of the alvars, not on the side of the cliffs. So I like talking about this one because you know, it expresses something that we try to do with all of the conservation work that we do, which is look for opportunities for things to coexist. It's not as simple as just protect or just develop. We know that there's responsible development, and we know that that there are protections as well. So this is a case where multiple things can be true at the same time. And yeah, and again, just to reiterate, anything that happens with these Alvar regions wouldn't affect private or leased farmlands, and we're definitely in conversations with the Community Pasture Association and others, because we don't want to, they've essentially been stewarding those places and those plants that are still here today because they've done it in a good way, and we'd like that to continue. And I'll pass it to Ron for the next part.
Thank you, Neil. Okay, frequently asked questions, and I know one of the questions we have been asked, not frequently, but it's come up, is why do you want to make Sandy Bar part of Hecla Provincial Park? And we haven't suggested that. I know there has been some confusion about that. At this point, we don't know what type of protection that we are proposing there, because that's part of what these discussions are about. And when we meet with community leaders and various stakeholders in the region, at that point, if there seems to be an appetite for preserving Sandy Bar, and we'll decide based on what we've heard and based on the interests of the communities, what kind of designation. So it wouldn't necessarily become part of Hecla Park. We're certainly not proposing that at this point. Okay, so the first FAQ, there's quite a few of them. This is just a sampling we'll go through, but and the rest of them are on the project website under FAQs, so you can scroll through those. And we're constantly adding to those as well as we have discussions like we're going to have tonight with you. And as we go through the process, we hear more and more, and we just want to keep addressing those questions and adding to that long list of frequently asked questions, just so we can be as clear as possible with people. So, what are you protecting this area from? So, just to reiterate what Neil said, it's basically from large-scale industrial development or extraction, trying to create a balance in the area or the region of natural areas, along with for provide opportunities for all kinds of outdoor traditions, like provide opportunities for all kinds of outdoor traditions, like hunting, fishing, trapping, gathering, hiking, canoeing, you name it. And next slide, how will this initiative impact hunting and fishing in the area? So anything that this conservation initiative proposes will not restrict hunting and angling. The First Nations have been clear right from the beginning. I think it's actually the first question or second or third question on the website in terms of the FAQs. And just want to be very clear that we're not looking to restrict hunting and angling in the region, whether it's in side protected areas or not. The next one is how will this affect my farmland? We've heard this one quite a bit. So we want to be very clear that private lands, leased lands, whether it's for cottages or for agriculture, etc., will not be subject to any proposal that we put forward. And going on to the next one. Oh, is this part of 30 by 30, which is, there's an initiative in Canada and here in Manitoba. The Manitoba government has a mandate to protect 30% of Manitoba by 2030. Canada also has that goal. And 196 countries in 2022 all agreed that was a good goal, which is kind of amazing because when's the last time you remember that many countries agreeing to anything? So it's pretty amazing to us to see that the environment is a big part of the list because we all need healthy air, clean water, and the resources that nature provides. This is a widely accepted goal and an approach, both for 30 by 30 and Indigenous-led conservation. There's lists there like the Ducks Unlimited, the Canadian Wildlife Federation, which is MWF's parent, the Nature Conservancy of Canada, Manitoba Habitat Conservancy, I think Dave Suzuki also, etc. So but one thing we really like to point out and what's really important is this initiative here was happening before this 2022 agreement where 196 countries came together and decided they wanted to commit to 30% by 2030. This initiative was already happening, and we'd be having the same conversation today whether this initiative for 30 by 30 was in place or not. So it's quite separate from it. Okay, next particular slide. Who is funding this initiative? So there's a variety of groups here that you can see. Environment and Climate Change Canada, the Manitoba Habitat Conservancy, which is a provincial body, and then of course the 3 First Nations, and CPAW is also providing some resources as well. And the next slide, who will manage it, or manage the areas when and if they are protected? So that's all part of this engagement process, part of the conversation. We want to find out what kinds of conservation designations people are open to, what their interests are, and that will inform what type of management that we might recommend at the end of the day to the provincial government when we begin discussing our proposal with them. And we'll only start discussing that proposal with them after we've done round 2 engagement, where we've had, finished our open houses, when we met with community leaders, when we met with various stakeholders in the region, and hearing from Manitobans generally. So at that point, we'll finalize the proposal. We'll have a what we heard report to kind of summarize discussions that we had during round 2 and do our best to capture people's interests and concerns and hopes and dreams, hopefully, as well. Then that will all inform a final proposal, which we will then begin to discuss with the provincial government. And any area the province is interested in moving forward on in terms of protected areas or conserved areas, they will then need to conduct their own consultation processes as well. That's that's the way the law works in terms of our Crown law works in terms of establishing protected and conserved areas. So there'd be a public consultation, community stakeholder consultations. And I think that's it for the formal part of our presentation. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for the presentation to give everyone a bit of an idea of what we're expecting. So at this point, I want to take a quick break. There's still lots of refreshments available, so please do help yourself load up. We're going to come back in about 5-10 minutes and then go right into questions and answers. So to take a couple of minutes, use the bathroom, grab a smoke break, fresh air break, whatever suits your fancy, grab some refreshments, and we'll come back. And if you haven't put your ticket in for the door prize yet, please do that now, because we'll do that first before we get started with the questions. Okay, perfect. Okay, don't throw it away. Excellent. Good job, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, well done.
Easy part's done.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I gotta figure out how to do it. Hey everyone. Well, it's really disappointing to interrupt conversation. It sounds like some really good conversation and connections happening, but give you a little bit of a warning to head back to your seats. Hopefully you've topped up on your refreshments and had a chance to use the washroom or whatever. But head back to your seats and then we'll get started here in a couple minutes. Thanks. Do you have the bag?
Conversation.
All right, well, I think everyone's more or less made it back to their seats, and if not, I'm sure you'll be there in a minute or two. Before we get started off with the question and answers, we want to just do a draw for a door prize that we have here. It was donated, and it has a bowler fleece blanket in it, a handmade mittens by Liz Murdoch, a traditional cooking and foods cookbook, black-capped chickadee stuffed bird toy. Not sure what you do with that. Cabela's round jigs and Bass Pro Shops fishing spoon. And I chatted with Rob here, Rob, right? Recently, and I just asked him if he wouldn't mind picking the ticket. And he said he'll pick his own, but we'll see how this goes. Yeah. This is the... So the winning ticket here. So when you came in, I believe you were given a ticket. So if you have that ticket, pull it out. The number here is 532-157. 157 is the last three. Oh, front row. Don't have to go too far. Congratulations. Awesome. Enjoy. Well, okay, so I guess this is the fun part of the evening where we give an opportunity for people to have voice and to ask questions, express concerns, whatever it might be, and hopefully we can answer all questions. So we have a couple of goals here that we're going to do our best to give everyone here who has a question or concern an opportunity to do that. We have a couple of expectations, and I think they'd be pretty obvious, is that we just ask that everybody communicates respectfully here today. Time is limited, so ask be brief in both question and answer. And I might just see how things go as I facilitate the conversation here. And if there's quite a bit of a lineup, I might just say a limit of 2 questions if you've got a book of them. But if there's not a whole lot of people there, then we can maybe keep rolling, seeing how things go. Hoping we don't run out of time. But if we do get close to the end of the night and we're running out of time, there's still lots of questions to go. What I'd like to do is I'm going to give the heads up that I think we're running out of time. So what we'll do is, instead of having a question and answer right away, we'll have questions asked, and we'll document and record them to make sure that we get as many of the questions or concerns or whatever people have to say. You came here, we want to hear you and give you an opportunity to do that. So instead of answering right away, we'll document the rest. And then if we have time, maybe we can answer a few of them. If not, the rest of those questions will be posted on the website, I'm going to get it wrong, maybe the frcnconservation.ca website under the FAQ page. Okay, I got some thumbs up. Perfect. So if you don't have a chance to get an answer, we'll make sure that an answer does get posted. And then lastly, I guess just with respect to how we conduct this meeting. So in a lot of, I don't know if you've heard of interest-based conversation or negotiation or dialogue before, but often when we come to a discussion and we might have different positions on the matter, we often butt heads and say, I want it this way or I want it that way. But often we don't go underneath that and talk about our interests, where we might have some common understandings or common goals that we agree on. So I ask that as you ask a question or you think about information you're looking for, think about your underlying interest. What is it that is informing your position, or what is the underlying need or concern or fear or question that you have that's informing that question you're asking? You might even I might even ask, like, could you tell me more about your interest about that question specifically? Because I think we can get to the core of the concern or question that you might have. And so hopefully that helps in having a good question answer period. So without any further ado, let's begin the questions and answers. So if you do have a question, we have a mic set up here at the front. If you'd like to just come up to the front to the mic and ask a question, and then we'll see who from the table here can answer it for you. So who'd like to start? Just go ahead and walk up, and you guys can start forming a line. That gives me a good idea of how many people have questions. So go ahead. What's your name?
Bob Cherpak. I've lived here for over 70 years. I farmed here for over 50. I'm an outfitter. I'm a hunter, fisherman. I own 1,000 acres of farmland or so. And I'm just wondering, with the proposed board, the managers, how we can trust these managers to take care of my best interest. Because these people have been lobbying the provincial government to get rid of outfitters and to confiscate 450 moose licenses for Manitoba licensed hunters last year. Now, these guys are going to be managing my interest and my land. I own land alongside the fish road. I own land adjacent to the Broad Valley Wildlife Management Area. Now, these lands are going to be thrown in with this proposal, and it's going to be an umbrella over my private property. Now, how can I trust these guys to represent me when we don't have any representation on this board?
Right. Okay, thanks for your question, Bob. So I just want to make sure I got this right. Your fundamental question is really based on trust. And is how can I trust these folks to ensure that I'm going to be able to continue doing what it is that I want to be able to do? Okay, who can take that question? I don't know who would be the best person here. And I'll just I'll coach our people at the table here. Don't push the button, and then also hold the mic a bit higher up, not at the bottom. I was given those instructions from our good folks on the media team here. Who'd like to answer the question? Or at least address the concern, maybe.
Okay. Well, Bob, I just want to maybe, first of all, I got to ask you to get some clarification on your comments regarding the licenses that you say that currently, and I don't know who on the table here, would be able to discuss that, because I have no knowledge of what you're talking about in terms of someone lobbying government, Just for information too, Fisher River is also an outfitter. We have an outfitting company through our development corporation, and we've had it now for a number of years, Fisher River Outfitters, so we operate in the area also. But I don't know if you can provide clarification on who's lobbying government, to basically, you say, take licenses and other things. I don't know anything about that, but in terms of the management board, we're not even, well, I'll use the Fisher Bay Park as an example. When we worked with government on establishing the park, and then it was proclaimed as a park, there was no management. The management still fell to the province of Manitoba. So I'm thinking that's exactly what will happen again. It'll be the province of Manitoba that'll be responsible for the management of the area. Yeah, whatever that's going to become, right? Yeah.
Bob, do you might want to come up to the mic here, and just so everybody can hear your comment there.
Yeah, that hasn't happened in Heckle Island, which is basically the same path. The population has been managing the hunting there. So I'm just wondering if that's what we can expect for this area here.
Thanks, Bob. Chief has asked me to speak to this to add to what he said, or just provide another perspective. So I just want to be really clear. I mean, this initiative is not proposing to remove outfitters. So I understand your concern if that's what you've heard, but that absolutely not. We are not proposing to remove outfitters. In terms of the moose tags, I'm not sure who you're referring to there either, but like CPAW as an organization has nothing to do with hunting regulations or moose tags. It's not something we ever get involved with because it's not our area of expertise. It's not in our wheelhouse essentially to decide how many moose tags there should be or there should. So I want to be clear about that as protected lands on private lands or leased lands or cottage areas. It's all focused on undeveloped crown lands.
So if I may, just for this table, and I think, Bob, kind of the basis of your question was around trust, but secondly, how do I know that my voice is going to be considered as part of this process? So I don't know if maybe you can speak to that at all. Like, the question is, I think also is, what consideration or how involved can Bob be? Or I don't know if there's a group that's part of this conversation, but there's a question of your voice and your interest being represented here as well. Is that correct? Okay, so if you folks didn't hear this, Bob was just saying the Wildlife Federation would be considering the same kind of approach or concerns that you would have, and they'd be a good to be part of this process. All right, thanks. I think we'll move on to the next question then. Go ahead. What's your name?
My name is Don Lamont. I'm the executive director of the Manitoba Lodges and Outfitters. I'm also the editor of Hook magazine. We were concerned on this release. Was sent out by the Peguis Chief and Council, and I'll quote you, the Manitoba Wildlife Federation, I'll put my reading glasses on, is actively working to oppose our conservation initiative seeking to influence control over Crown lands in Manitoba in favor of lodges and outfitters associations that cater to foreign interests over Indigenous rights. So I would like clarification, and what does this mean? We have no opposition. We have no interest in changing the way Crown lands are managed. And we never made any comment in that regard.
I don't fully understand the question, Don. Can you clarify? Are you asking not only about the...
Well, I'm asking why you made that statement.
Well, that statement was put up earlier today without Chief and Council's knowledge. That was posted by our communications. We did receive information prior to the meeting today. I wasn't planning to come to the meeting today, as I had other meetings, but I thought it was important that I do come. I think it's important that that we realize that what we're doing here today is consultation in the truest sense, that we're not coming here with any preconceived ideas of what should be done, but we're here to listen to what the people in this area, the town of Arborg and the surrounding areas, what their concerns or their ideas are as far as this initiative moves forward.
Okay. I just want to say that CPAWs, we have a meeting with them, Ron and Neil, on Thursday at 11 o'clock to discuss further. So we want to, they've been very open to our input, and we'll be certainly glad to do that. So we look forward to meeting you on Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, what's your name?
My name's Dennis Schindler. I'm with the Manitoba Wildlife Federation. I don't have a question. I have just wanted to make a point of clarification, and it's directed at Ron. Ron indicated in his presentation that the Manitoba Wildlife Federation, the CWF is a parent of MWF. We in no way answer to CWF, nor does CWF represent us in this particular situation. So I just wanted to make that clear, Ron. We've told you it before, and I'm just saying it in public that CWF may have represented that they're in support of 30 by 30. Everyone knows what our position is, so I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, thanks, Dennis.
And thank you, Dennis. I just wanted to say that this is the first time I've heard this regarding CWF and MWF from MWF's perspective, so I'm not sure. I've never had that conversation.
Everybody in the room knows now.
Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Deb Mason, and I thank you for putting on this meeting tonight. It's very important. My question is, if we are going to have truth and transparency, would this panel commit to roundtable discussions over the next year? And my reason for asking this is so that we can get to know one another, we can learn to understand what the actual initiative is. Is it based on true conservation, or is it based by the UN 3030 agenda?
So your question, is it Deb? Sorry.
Yes.
Deb, was basically, what you're wondering is kind of the basis of the reasons for the conservation or looking at protecting certain areas. Kind of what is the undercurrent or the underpinning reasons for those specific areas?
Well, yes, there's that. And just to give a little bit of background as to what my concerns are. We know that Canada, particularly the present government that we have, is very dedicated to protecting land that aligns with the UN agenda. As a matter of fact, it's 1.1 million miles of land and water to reach its conservation targets. Now, with this, Ducks Unlimited is involved, Parks Canada is involved, the Nature Conservancy of Canada is involved, CPAW is involved, and so is Greenpeace. Now, each one of these little organizations has their commitments to conservation, and when you total it all up, it becomes quite an amount of conserved land. So, if this is the case, I'm sorry, I have a little bit of doubt as to what the real reason is, and that's why I asked. Is it really conservation, or is it in alignment with the 30 by 30 agenda put out by the UN? And the only way we're going to get to the bottom of this, in my opinion, is to have some roundtables where we discuss it, where we complain about it, we come up with some resolutions for it, solutions for it, some trust, and who knows, you might find out we're all great partners together.
Okay, great. Very nice.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, and I'm going to make the commitment on behalf of our group that we will sit and talk. Actually, I'll give you a good example. We had a session maybe about a month and a half ago in the Fish River community, and we had a good turnout. And it's exactly the way you described it. We had roundtable discussions with individuals that came out that evening from the region. And it was very, very good. And you are right, sitting down across from each other, you get to know the individual's interests, their concerns, you know, how we can work together, and that's exactly what we want to do.
That's what I would like to see and be part of. So it takes away the mistrust, the misinformation, and trust me, there's a lot of it out there.
Right.
And we might even find that we have the same goals if we just talk about it.
Correct, yes, exactly. Thank you.
Just 1 second.
Good evening.
Oh, just 1 second. Was there something else you wanted?
Oh, I just want to say that we tried and failed.
Just a little further to the west here, and my concern as a municipal councillor is, I guess what I would perceive would be a lack of engagement with the municipal level. This is a concern to mine. I represent a lot of farmers because we can't just sit, we have to all make it, we have to all make a living. So what I would suggest is that obviously you have a working group that you're taking this process through, and I know they say that 2 things you don't want to see done are how policy or legislation are made or how sausage is made in the kitchen. But I think in this case, in fact, we do want to see that at the municipal level. And I just speak for the Arm of Fisher, but I'm sure the leadership of the Arm of Bifrost, of the town of Arborg, and then all the various different Northern Affairs communities in this area as well, whether it's Matheson Island or Pine Dock or Harwell or Dallas or Red Rose. All of these people, elected representatives, would like to have input, not just the occasional meeting. I think we'd like to be a part of the process as this process is put together, this policy is made. So that would be my suggestion to you. And my question to you, would you be willing to engage at a more day-to-day level with representatives from these various different municipal and Northern Affairs communities that I just mentioned? So thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. Yes, absolutely. As I indicated right at the very beginning, that this initiative is very much about sustainable economic opportunities. It's about preservation, conservation, and it's really about protecting what's here for our children. Not only our children, but your children. And that involves a partnership beyond the 3 nations. So, having these discussions moving forward with the various interested parties, I think is important. Depending on our schedules, again, it's, I don't know how busy you are, we're very busy, but still we'll make it a priority because this initiative is a priority for the 3 nations. So absolutely, I agree with what you're saying.
Might I just ask, what would be the process for that to happen? Just like the next step of if RMs want to be a bit more involved, how does CPAWs or or the Three Nations kind of see that happening? I'm not sure if that was your question, Tommy. I'm jumping ahead.
My sense is that's kind of a challenging to answer right now because we need to kind of explore what those options might look like and have a conversation. The Three Nations might want to have a conversation about what they think that might look like, rather than just deciding on the spot, exactly what that process could be. And I know that's maybe not a very satisfying answer, but I think it's fair to say that sometimes you need a little time to think these things through before you say, okay, this is exactly how it's going to work. So, I've heard loud and clear. It sounds like, Chief Stan Bird is supportive, obviously, and let's have a conversation. I know we do plan on reaching out to Fisher as part of the RMF Fisher as part of this process, Tom. We plan on meeting with as many community leaderships as we can, and municipality leaderships, as well as a variety of other stakeholders as well. So let's sit down and figure out what that looks like.
All right, well, I thank you for that. And just so you know, I'm retired now, so I have a little bit of time on my hand, and I would volunteer my services to engage with all of you if that is your decision at the end of the day. So thank you for putting this on, and we all look forward to a process that can satisfy all people who live in this area and who use this land to make a living. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Tom.
Hello, I'm Rob Johnson from Grindstone Provincial Park. My wife and I have been vacationing and mostly living now in the area for 40 years. We love it, and we like what you're trying to do overall. My concern is peat bogs. Peat bogs do a lot. They're a natural purifier of the waters, and they do it very well. It takes 1,000 years to produce a peat bog. Peat bogs do a lot of good things. Our friends from Peguis First Nation utilize medicines from the peat bog. Science has not yet really dug into peat bogs to see if there's medicines for all. The moose like to munch in there, and we're trying to help the moose. So my question is, why on your map do you skirt all the commercial operations? Because peat bogs, they're not providing a lot of economy, and it's just to mix with your plant pots. We can do that with coconut shells and whatnot. I think it's something that we should look at, trying to save some of these peat bogs for our environment. That's all. Any thoughts on that?
Okay. Yeah, let's thank you, first of all, Rob, for your statement regarding peat operations. I guess I'll give you a good example of what we've done to try and limit the use of the area with peat operations. We work with not in opposition to them because they provide funding, but the Canadian government, through one of the federal departments, supported Fisher River on an application for funding, and we identified 5 areas north of the Fisher River community, close to Chief Travis's community, and we were able successfully negotiate an arrangement with the peat company that had ownership of those leases, and this actually just happened in 2024, the fall. We were able to secure those leases, and the goal is now to have the province of Manitoba extinguish those leases now that we have ownership of them, so that the total area will be protected from peat mining. So I'm just giving you an example of something
that's great. We at Grindstone stopped a peat mine about 8 years ago. Actually, I phoned one lady, Mo Tipple. She's very powerful. Within 2 weeks, she had that shut down. And all they did was paid $50,000 to the company and they're out. So now you can still enjoy that area and walk through it, see the wildlife, filter the water. So it's good, thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
I just wanted to elaborate a little bit on that as well. It was decided through this process that, so you can see you mentioned skirting around the peat leases or the peat license areas and not including them in any kind of proposed protected areas that we're looking at. And the reason that was decided is because I know Fisher River for sure, and the chief can obviously speak to this better than I can, but the idea was that there's established processes to deal with proposed peat harvesting areas that are already in place, and so the nation decided that they would participate through those mechanisms rather than including that in this initiative, which would make it more complicated. So to go with existing processes already in place to address peat interests.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, my name's Keith Flood. I'm from the Peguis First Nation. I'll give you a little bit of background here, and maybe I can elaborate on this guy's 450 moose tags that wanted to take it. They're throwing it on this group here. That 450 moose tags is in northern Manitoba, up around the mining areas up there from Cross Lake, stretching across to Puckatawagan. So that has no bearing on here right now. So don't throw it on here. Well, right now, where's the moose? You got a little bit of hostility here from these guys. I grew up on the land. I grew up there in the bush trapping, fishing, hunting, and taking kids out, and taking actually your people out too. We took our First Nations out, and we took the surrounding children out. There was no racism involved. For 20 years, we took children out on the land and taught them. So before any hostility starts shooting out because of your preconceived notion of what's going on, I think you should give it a little bit of opportunity to work its way out here. And that's just saying it out of respect. That's not saying out of disrespect. So I'm trying to be respectful here. I grew up on the land. I seen the waterways, the clear waterways, and I seen the drainage systems when it comes from the farming community. When it comes to the systems, we used to swim in the Fisher River. It used to be really clear. I need to go working up north because I could not get no jobs around here. So when I came back and we went swimming in the river, I got hives, and that's was from the drainage system that was going around and coming through our community. And let me give you a little bit more history of who I am. With AECOM, I was engineering technician, a level 4 engineering technician, where you can't go any higher as an engineering technician. I looked after mine sites, environmental assessments. I looked after the East Side Road Authority over there through AECOM under Ernie Gilroy in it, which was the mines and resources people.
Keith, if I may ask, sort of just to get to the question or the...
Yeah, I'm making a statement here. You said to bring my concerns.
Yeah.
So the one thing that I have is our rights as a First Nations people. Remember, it's entrenched in the Constitution of Canada. We have the right to go and harvest. Okay? One of our young guys, and this comes with other things, and I know Steve because they stood across the table from us in meetings that we had with Dave Grant. Dave Grant used to be the head of natural resources here in this area. And we sat in Fisher Branch, and we talked about man-tag area, and we talked about coexisting with each other and working together. Fisher Branch agreed to come and help us and work together for the beaver problem in that area and to develop that area so that everybody could have an opportunity in there in order to do their hunting, fishing, trapping, sending their skidoos through their what do you call it? Which is economics, right? That's what you look at. You're looking at your own economic base, right? Okay. So, and I respect that. But another thing that comes out of it is our economic base as a people, our resource area, our allocated area, which is with the community. We were moved 3 times. We were moved from the Red River Valley, then we were moved into Lower Fort Garry, then we were moved into East Selkirk, and then we got pushed north to here, which is the Peguis First Nation. So I heard a comment that you made about taking your land. A lot of our land that we had was freely given. It was never There was no fight, no war, no nothing. It was a peaceful negotiation to the treaty. So before you start making comments, learn the history. So, and I'm one of them that's going to stand here right now because, like I said, even with the waterways, I worked with the AECOM, dealing with the LIDARs and everything else like that was involved. There's people that were sitting on council that's sitting right here from the Fisher community that know that what I did over there. So I'm not standing here trying to dictate to you about taking your land. Okay? The anger should be from this side with all the land that was given up. So it was free land to the farmers. When that treaty was signed, treaty number 1, 160 acres of free land was given. And that was because of our people. That's what we negotiated for use. The commerce of the land came after. So now we got to take a look at our gravel pits. We got to take our sustainability. And we got our own development that we have to take too, which some of our people wanted to do extract gravel. And they had a very hard time because the bigger companies around, we say Kinonjeoshtegon, the non-native. Okay, that's a word that you're probably going to learn right now. They wanted to stop it and they had a hard time. Our people had a hard time in order just to have a gravel right there, just so that we can take the gravel and develop our community. That's what happened. So Mark Longo, he used to be with Ottawa. He was the agricultural minister. I knew Mark. So, and I'm sure some of you guys up there on this side know who I'm talking about. I'm not coming from an area that's going to be disrespectful to anybody. But we can work together. I worked along with Ted Biggs from Northwestern Ontario 25 years ago as a liaison between the natives, the First Nations community, and the non-native entities that had their vested interest there. I've heard this argument over and over again, and there's a lot of argument that comes in there that people have preconceived notions already. Oh, they're going to take everything.
What I'm scared of is, First Nations people have been screwed over by the federal government for years and years. Historically, do you trust the federal government?
The number one thing is that when it comes to conservation, I'll give you a little story about one of our hunters last year. He was hunting. He was given permission from Josephine in Poplar Divido. Divido? Is it, Mike, you know what I'm talking about. And he was out there and conservation surrounded him, took his truck, took the animals, didn't charge him, and took all his hunting gear. And he was trying to find out, even from the RCMP, where his stuff was, and nobody would say nothing. So I instructed the young guy, charge them. That's like stealing. They had no right to take it. He had everything there, that all legal rights of being there. And then when they decided to bring his stuff back to him, they wanted him to go to the Gimli to go pick it up. They took it from him. I said, no, they have to bring it back to you.
See, the way I see it is, this whole initiative is funded by the federal government. They've screwed your people over for years.
Mm-hmm.
Variety of
Just one second.
Okay.
I'm going to grab you a mic so everybody can hear your question. Nadia Scott.
So I'm asking this gentleman if he trusts the federal government. I think it's pretty clear that a lot of us don't.
Yeah, I can understand where that's going.
And with this initiative, CPAW being funded, very clearly being funded by the federal government, that causes a lot of us to be concerned about, is the federal government going to come in and take our land? I don't mean you guys, I don't mean your people taking our land. That's not what I meant when I said that.
Okay, now that's clarified, yeah, because
What's that?
that's the impression I had with the comments that you guys.
No, because CPAW is supported by the federal government. So wherever the money is where the power is. So if the money is coming from the federal government into CPAWs, then the federal government has control of what CPAWs controls. Does that make sense? You always follow the money.
That makes a lot of sense. Like, don't forget, I work for a large conglomerate.
I think you and me are on the same page.
Yes.
And CPAWS says they're not part of the UN 3030. But I don't think that's true.
Okay, I have to get myself more informed on that part.
Yes.
Like, there's something that's happening here. We're having dialogue.
That's right.
We can work things out.
Yes. I think in a lot of ways we are on the same page.
Yeah.
We are afraid of what the federal government and provincial government is going to do in our day-to-day life. That's what our concern is. That's what his concern is.
Yeah.
It's not what your people will do. I have no beef with you, with your people. Nothing. We're all people. God made us all the same. And he loves everyone the same. That's right, damn right. We're all people. That's what we need. We need people to be together.
With me, I am Anishinaabe. I am First Nations, and I'm proud of that.
That's good.
And I'll stand up and defend that through and through.
Be proud of it.
So, but the one thing that we have two nations that are going to be working within the system here. Nation to nation.
That we can work with, but if the feds get involved, that doesn't work.
Yeah, don't forget, you're talking about federal funding that's funding this. Our communities are funding it also.
And that's the question I had was what percentage is funded by Canada and what is funded by local organizations? Do you have a breakdown of that?
1.3 billion from the Canadian government. Okay.
Do you
For who?
Ron.
Okay, I'm gonna hit the quick pause button here.
Yep.
I really do appreciate the conversation. I think everybody does. This is really good. And Keith, you started off by wanting to make a statement, and I just want to check. Have you made that statement, or is there something more you want to say? And then we'll come to your question about funding.
Okay, the one other thing is that I have friends in Arborg, I have friends in Morweena, I have friends in Fisher Branch, I have friends in Hudson. I have all kinds of friends right across the board, all the way to the Hecla Island, and through to Ashern, and all the way through. All different diverse peoples. And it seems like when they see me, the first thing is this: the color of my skin. I grew up like that. I used to rub on the road with dust, being ashamed of who I was until I found out my true identity. Now I'm proud of who I am, and I'm proud of my people. So when it comes to that, it's the hunting, fishing, and gathering. I had people that were calling me today, says, make sure you stand up for our rights too. So that's what I'm doing here too. I'm standing up for the other people's rights. Like, there's a young guy that lives here in Arborg. He has 2 young children. They're not native. But I invite him to come bring his children out and see and be on the land with us. Because that's healthy. It's healthy to take the kids on land. We got to share the land. Everybody likes recreation, economic. Everybody likes a clean environment. And that's what we were the true stewards of the land to begin with. We were the first peoples of this country. That's where I'm coming from. So, I'm not angry with you. I'm just trying to be straightforward and clear with you that this project, the one concern that I have with it is, are they going to defend our rights as a First Nations people with this project? That's the one thing that has to be clear. So I know you guys have agendas that you go by, because I worked within them agendas. I worked on the $100 million drain that's in Lake St. Martin. I knew the agendas that were going on there.
And I know the peat moss that's going to be extracted out of the area too. They built a road from the inside out over there down the Idlewild Road. And it's a full-fledged road in there. Nobody knew that they were building it, but the government. You want to talk about trust? My trust is very, very little when it comes to the government also, just like you. But they're our government. We have to lobby them. We have to speak our voices, exactly what you have. You have every right to speak your voice. I have every right to speak mine.
All right, thank you so much, Keith. I appreciate that.
I just wanted to address this gentleman's comments. So the good news is you don't really have to worry about CPAWs making decisions on this initiative because we are not the decision makers. It's these 3 First Nations, their chiefs and councils that are the decision makers on this project. We are coordinators, we are helpers, we are supporting their leadership. And in terms of a UN 30 by 30 target, CPAWs has had its goals long before the UN came together and talked about protecting land and water. That's a fact. You can find that online. And in terms of federal funding, the CPAW's Manitoba chapter, 7% of our total revenue comes from the federal government. And CPAW's nationally is a nationwide organization, which we're a part of, but we're separate in the sense that we're responsible for raising our own funds here in Manitoba. 23% of funding comes from the federal government. So I know there's been some assertions made that CPAWs is almost entirely funded by the federal government, but that's simply not true. And our financial statements are available online. And they're easy to read. They're public-friendly, public-facing documents. Doesn't take an accountant to read them. I encourage you to look and see the facts. These are audited financial statements approved by the Canadian Revenue Agency. So I just want to make that clear. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ron. Okay, go ahead. Sorry. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, just wanted to make one comment about the whole process here on how things get approved. From day one, what we did, we sat with the provincial government, the bureaucrats, I'll call them, and we laid out what we call a framework on how we wanted to bring this forward, how we wanted to talk to the stakeholders in the Interlake region that, you know, that we knew would want to have a say in what the end result would be. But when I say end result, when we finish this process and we bring forward a plan, it's going to be made up of all the comments and, you know, what the people want in the Interlake region. But it's not going to be Fisher or Cree Nation, Peguis, Jacket, CPAWs making the decision. It's going to be the province of Manitoba that'll make that final decision. And part of the process is when we give them the plan, then the province is going to then take it, look at it, and then they're going to do their own consultation with the Interlake region. Yeah. And then they'll decide whether or not it's a good plan to move forward. There may be a lot of changes they'll want to make, similar to what happened with the Fisher Bay Park, where they reduced the size of the park. It's going to be the province of Manitoba that'll make that final decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Go ahead. Thank you for your patience.
No problem. My name is Dennis Smith. I'm a 15-year resident of the area. I'm also the current president of the Arborg Rod and Gun Club. Gentlemen, Indigenous leaders, thank you very much for finally having this meeting. We really do appreciate this. My questions will be towards CPAWs here. Number one, how much of Manitoba is Crown land?
We can book that.
Serious question. How much of Manitoba is Crown land?
That's the... Going, I will. Yeah. Hello? Check, check. Okay, seems okay now. The vast majority of Manitoba is Crown lands. Sorry?
Put a percentage to it, please.
I don't have that figure off the top of my head. I mean,
beginning of the meeting, you showed 3%.
Sorry?
Beginning of the meeting, you showed 3% on that slide.
3%? What?
More than 50% of Manitoba is Crown land, therefore protected. Why do we need you folks. Justify yourself.
Well, Crown land is, so the definition of protected areas in Manitoba,
I didn't ask protected areas, I said Crown land.
Right, but you asked about, you're saying that 50% or more of Crown land is protected.
I did not say that. Don't put words in my mouth.
No, I'm asking for clarity. I'm trying to understand your question.
I will say it one final time. How much of Manitoba is Crown land?
Yeah, once again, I don't have that figure off the top of my head. I can get
more
back
than
to you.
50%. Can we agree on that?
Yes, more than 50% for sure. Much more than that, I think.
So why do we need you two goons?
Okay, Dennis.
I'm being polite. Ask my friends.
Well, actually, you called them goons, and that's not polite.
They are
So
political goons. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Have a seat.
Hi there, my name is Nelson Gourlay. I'm president of a recently formed membership called the Manitoba Land Stewards. And if you heard that southwest Manitoba, they're trying to build an ecological corridor over private lands. We've been fighting that for 8 months, the past 8 months. And I'm just here to give reassurance to the community that both the community people and the First Nations have the power. It's the federal government that's trying to divide the people and the First Nations. We had to stand up to both and form our own organization of landowners and people to work on this because they wouldn't listen to us. We couldn't get the answers from in our case, it was Parks Canada. They wouldn't give us the answers. They hold a meeting through our watershed district. They wouldn't answer our questions. We had a meeting so as an example, and this comes back to one of the first speaker's moments about trust. We had a meeting with all the watershed, the board of directors, our municipalities. They were told over and over again that this is not going to be an ecological corridor. There's going to be no designation. 2 days later, Terry Duguid, the MP from Ottawa, flew out to Winnipeg and announced it's going to be an ecological corridor. And it's part of the 30 by 30. They said it wasn't part of the 33rd. They said, so you guys have a right to not trust any of this stuff coming through. But you have the power in this room, as a group, have the power to put the project you want forward and take responsibility for that. And allow the other people that are funded by the federal government to go and do their own thing. You guys make up your own plan and come back with it. Work together, because they're just trying to divide you. And that's what we did, and we had success. So keep up the work.
I'll just, before you begin, I don't know if there's any comment or response, or you're good? Good? Okay. Go ahead.
I'm Arnold Reimer.
Sorry, I missed the name.
Arnold Reimer.
Arnold? Yes. Thanks.
I think my major question here today is maybe more of an observation, but thanks, Ron and Fisher River Nations that met with us last week. Thank you very much. And I hope that's only the beginning of many more meetings that we'll be able to enjoy together. But I asked the question at that meeting that I felt I had not gotten an answer to, and that question was, what does the designation of a conservation protected area, what does that designation look like as far as what can we and what can we not do in it? Because I believe that is the big unknown for the vast majority of the people that are represented here today. And I was hoping you'd be able to come up with an answer by today for that. So if at all possible, I'll just back off a bit and listen to that answer.
Thanks, Arnold. Yeah, I can absolutely answer that, and I apologize if maybe I didn't understand the question, or when you asked me before, because I can easily answer that question. And unfortunately, it's not a very straightforward answer, and I'll say why. No, I think this is fair. Hear me out. There are different kinds of protected areas that can be established in Manitoba under Manitoba law, and each one is different. It's a different tool. So it depends on the type of protected area. So, for example, some wildlife management areas, for example, may allow logging, but they don't allow mining. So that's one example of something that can be done. Even within the provincial park system, not every provincial park is created the same in the sense that there's a suite of different land use categories, so different activities that can happen in different zones and parks, for example. So it really just depends on the designation that is created. And so throughout this process, the whole idea is to listen to people, understand their interests, and trying to develop a regionally tailored conservation proposal that hopefully, receives broad-based support.
So I don't know if any of you heard an answer on this question or not. That this is my takeaway from last week's meeting as well. There was some attempt to trying to explain this away as far as I'm concerned. And I think that is kind of the reason why there's probably a little bit of opposition, a little bit of animosity, and a lot of misunderstanding. Okay, so I think the number one goal has to be established before we can have any kind of formal type of informative meetings and stuff. And I think to date that's lacking. I really think that's lacking. And that's why I think you have some people that are very disgruntled, and they have people that are not sure why they're even here, but they were hoping for answers. And I guess the follow-up question to that one will be, so as a result of this meeting, will there be a further consideration to the interests of the group that's here? I'm representing one entity, but I know there's many others that are representing a lot of other things. And as I said last week at our meeting, I know I can work with the First Nations groups. We've done this over the years. My father moved into the Interlake in the early 50s, and he raised 5 sons and 6 daughters. Of those 5 sons, there's still 4 sons that are actively involved in the logging industry and sawmill and stuff. Of those 4 sons, there's 5 grandsons that are now actively ownership in some forestry activity. And so it's a pretty strong root in our family. And obviously there's some pretty key interest as to how this all progresses, right? And I want to assure you again, we have worked diligently in the past, and I believe we can continue that. But on behalf of the group, I really would like to have a good understanding of what that protected or conservation area, what that designation looks like, because I think once we have an idea what that designation looks like, we can start talking about what we need to do, right?
Well, I totally agree with you. I mean, it really depends. Like through these meetings and consultations, we're going to get a sense, hopefully get a really good sense of what people's interests are. And from there, at some point, when the final proposal is done, all people's interests would be considered, and you could have a better understanding of what that designation being proposed is, and what the ins and outs, so to speak, of that are being proposed. And like I say, once the final proposal is presented to the provincial government, if they want to move forward on any of these protected area proposals, they have to do extensive public consultations. And at that point, there will be a proposed designation, and what the nations are proposing are in and out. But mostly this is just to address some industrial interests and trying to create a balance in the region for that. And we realize it's a big area, there's lots of interest in this. This is really trying to float all boats and accommodate everyone and ensure that there's still wild lands and waters for future generations to embrace. So we've been criticized to some extent, like, that we've been too vague or we haven't had enough information. But what we've also heard in the past is if a proposal is presented to people when it's too far along, they say you didn't include me early enough. So it's hard to find that sweet spot. It really is, because it's not going to be the same for everyone.
I understand and appreciate that. I truly do. I would have one request, and that is, before you present this to the government, would you commit to having another one of these type of meetings here?
Yes, well, first of all, thank you. Thank you for your statement. It's very good, and that's exactly, you summed it up really good, Arnold. But yeah, definitely we'll commit to that we will have more meetings. And the suggestion that was made earlier, that would be the way I think we'll do meetings as we move forward. I'm going to speak for the group here. But I like the idea of sitting with people and get to know them a bit and then talk about the issues and concerns they might have with the proposal. So, but yes, definitely we're going to have more meetings.
Thank you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Arnold.
My name is Janine Willette, and I'm Aboriginal Treaty myself too, and my children are Métis. We fish, we log, we have a logging company. They trap and everything, and you say protected. What does this all entail? And I want to say too, you can't really blame the farmers for all the sewage going in. You look at, there was 30,000 liters of raw sewage that just went into the Red River. That trickles down into Lake Winnipeg, and that puts an effect on the fishing industry and everything. And I just want to know, like you said, the forestry and mining, how do we know what limitations you're going to put on the protected land? Like, are you going to say that certain people can't go log in the area, or how's that going to affect? I have 8 children. I have future generations to think of. So I just want to know what you really mean by protecting the land. Like what it entails. Like, do you know what it actually entails?
Yeah, thank you, Janine.
I'm asking you. Yeah.
I didn't know. I wasn't sure.
I know that the Aboriginal people know what it entails, but I'm asking you.
Right. So the thing is, we're not quite there yet because we haven't had all the conversations. We haven't met with the community leaders and the various stakeholders in the region. We haven't heard all the questions here yet tonight. So this is really very early on in the process where we've come up with,
Have you guys considered all the farming people that lease the land?
Oh yes, this will not. We've been very clear that this initiative will not propose anything over leased lands, whether it's cottages, farmlands,
Okay, how it's going to affect like people that want to do trapping and stuff like as a lifestyle.
Oh yeah, this initiative has also been very clear that it will not propose anything to restrict hunting, fishing, trapping, gathering, etc.
Okay, so what's the purpose of it?
The purpose is That's a great question, thank you. The purpose is to establish a balance in the region and ensure that some areas remain natural. To sustain the ecosystems and the wildlife in the region and cultural activities. Sorry?
I just
I
looked
hear you.
at it.
Okay, so the idea is to create some areas that are established that they stay natural.
What do you mean by that?
Well,
What are you creating? Like, what's being created?
Well, the thing is, we're not quite there yet. We haven't had all the discussions we need to have.
So what's the point of this then?
Well, the idea at some point is to have some area activity that are maintained as natural areas to create more of a balance in the region than there currently is in that regard.
Hello, I'm Kyle Foster. Ooh, that's loud. I farm in the RM of Bifrost Riverton, private landowner. I guess I'm curious. You keep on saying that there's no impact on private landowners, but yet somehow you've put us within the green line of a study area. So I would think you'd have a lot more support if you left all private lands out of this altogether. And also, I'm wondering what's missing. We deal with water control. We deal with conservation. We deal with East Interlake Conservation or Watershed. There's the Canadian, the Fisheries and Oceans as far as drainage goes. We have to go through all these permits. What do you see that's missing that's not already there?
Maybe I want to maybe go back a bit here before I answer the question, but this goes back to history with the area here and the Fish River community. Part of our work that we've been doing, which is related to conservation, the Fisher Bay Park came about with consultation with our elders in the community and our members, that they wanted these areas brought under some form of protection for future generations. And then part of our discussion with our elders was also, well, what about the use of the area since the settlement of the community? And I'm going back to 1875 and the movement of the Fisher River people to the Hecla Island, Loon Straits area. So this was a traditional area, and initially that was supposed to be the community of Fisher River, a settlement part of our treaty. And but for whatever reason, government made the decision after the people resided there for a short time, they decided to move them and give the Icelandic people the land instead of the Fisher River Cree Nation people. So we were moved from that location to present-day location. So I guess the point is, we look at the history of the area, the use that happened in the area, and that's how the land was identified as a possible area for conservation. Came through the Fisher River community and consultation with our elders, and it goes way back, on the use of the area, even prior to a lot of the settlement that happened. So fast forward to where we're at today, the reason why we want this is because we want permanent, protection for certain areas that, have value for the area. It could be the lakes within the area, that we want permanent protection because of the fisheries, or, just the what do we call it, our environment. We want protection for the environment because we also look at things in a global perspective, and that's our people do that, and we look around globally what's happening around the world, right? You see all the things happening. Well, what's it related to? Some people say it's environmental climate change, right? Some people say it's just the way it is on Earth, right? But anyway, that's our ideas behind conservation. We want to look at areas, which have a significant value for the people in the area. And private land is private land. That's automatically out of the proposal, private lands. And as far as it goes for the logging industry within the region here, that's something else too that we need to have that discussion. Like Arnold Reimer, sorry, I'll use you as an example, Arnold. So your background on the history of the family when the settlement, but things like that have to be taken into consideration. The history of the companies that have been working the area for a long, long time. So all that has to be considered when we bring a proposal forward. And I'll say it again, it's not going to be the RMs or Fisher River or Peguis or Jacket that are going to make the decision. It's going to be the government that'll make the final decision on the proposal that's brought forward. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So my name is Terry Zielinski. I want to thank you three gentlemen for being here today. I have a lot of respect for the First Nations people of this country and a lot of sorrow for the First Nations people of this country with what has happened. And I want to remind you guys of that. You have a responsibility. We all have a responsibility, not just for our children and grandchildren, but for the next 7 generations. That's a huge responsibility. The number of treaties that have been signed between our government and the First Nations people that have failed, that you were lied to. Between 1760 and 1923, there were 56 treaties signed with good intent by the First Nations people. They gave land, as this gentleman said. And what has happened? The government has lied. They have gone back on their word over and over. People have been starved to death. People have been burnt to death. You have a responsibility to look deeper than what you're being told today. Because what you're being told is not the whole truth. It might be a part of the truth. UNDRIP is a United movement. Our government is being told what to tell you. And when you're not here at this table in 5 years or 7 years or 10 years, there will be someone else that will have to answer for the decisions that you gentlemen are making today. And I applaud you for taking this on. It needs to be taken on. But be careful. $1.3 billion has been given to CPAWs. And if he wants to say that that's only part of his funding, he's lying. 1.3 billion, if that's only part of his funding, that's where you need to be concerned. This is public information that 1.3 billion is funded to CPAWs. So I urge you guys to look deeper for the next 7 generations, not just for us here today. Investigate deeper. There are chiefs around this country that are aware of what's going on, and they are speaking up. The chiefs in BC are speaking up. They've already seen how the government has lied to them. So don't think that the most corrupt government that we've ever had in this country is trying to be truthful with you today. Example of what just happened. Before the vaccines were given, it was well known that the First Nations people and the Black people had 30% higher adverse reactions. And who did they give the shots to first? The First Nations and Black people. If you don't see in your own communities how many people have been injured and have passed away in the last number of years, I'm sure you do see it. So don't trust the same people that are telling you half a story again. That's all I have for you guys. My honor to you guys, I respect you guys. But please don't do just what you're being told. Look deeper.
I just want to chime in quickly. Could you share the link where you see CPAWs has received $1.3 billion? Can you share it now at the microphone? Excuse me, sir? Can you share it at the...
Yeah, he's just looking for
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. Because I can assure you that is nowhere even close to being truthful. In the sense, our financial statements, once again, they're online. They've been audited by the Canadian Revenue Agency. Oh, well. Okay. Yeah, all I can say is that is absolutely false. Thank you.
We're going to move on. When you have that, just you can bring it up or whatever. But let's move on to the next question because we are over time now. Are these the last 3 people that want to ask a question today? Well, I mean, if there's anybody else, I just ask that you come up now so I kind of have an idea how much more time we might need. So go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Jess Cochran Sr. I'm from Peguis First Nation, Dancy. Thank you guys for having this forum here this evening. I wasn't aware that anything like this was going on, and I guess it's been happening for the past 5 years. So, you know, I just dug myself out from under the rock I've been living, and I figured, well, you know, I'd come and give a listen. But this is a good step in reconciliation. I worked for Manitoba government for 17 3/4 years. I also sit on the Land Selection Acquisition Committee for Peguis First Nation. And I bought this T-shirt specifically for a gathering that we were having at the PCU Center in Portage la Prairie. You want to read it?
You read the shirt out loud? Oh, you got it there.
It says, sure, you can trust the government. Just asking Indians.
Neil. Yeah. I just have, sir, what was your name?
Sure.
Harry's just going to show you that link, just so you guys. Okay. They're just going to talk about that link there. So go ahead. What was your question?
Okay, well, this is going to be really quick and easy, and it's directed at the three chiefs in front of us.
Sorry, what was your name?
My name's Kara.
Kara?
I work at one of the peat moss bogs out here, and actually, a lot of us work at the peat moss bogs out here. So it's major employment. You guys said you were going to try to get your leases back, I guess, from the government, or get the government to get your leases back on some of the property. Is that just in regards to that little piece that Sungrow owned way up, I think on this side somewhere, it was like this tiny little portion? Or is it in regards to also the peat moss bogs that are currently operating?
Yeah, that's related, Chief Travis's community, close.
Yeah,
that vicinity, there's 5 small leases.
Oh, okay, yeah. It just showed a little clump, I think, on their maps there.
Yeah,
But you're
there's
not
5 of
after
them.
the ones that are currently operating?
No.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Thanks, Kara. Thanks for that clarification. Okay, so we have these 3 folks, and then we're gonna call it a night. Go ahead.
My name is Jim Mason. I went to the Riverton meeting put on by CPAWs, and this one here too, of course. And I still don't know what this initiative is. There's no answers here. It's like you guys are asking for a blank check. Now, as I understand it, you want an endorsement from everybody here, same as what was at Riverton. I don't think you got that endorsement at Riverton. And I don't think you're going to get it here either. Simply because there are no answers. We don't know what you want to turn this land into. We don't know what's going to be done with it, who looks after it, who's in charge of it, who can use it, what they can use it for. You guys say hunting and fishing, yeah, sure. You guys are not the government. You guys do not make the final decision. You're not involved in it. I really don't know what you're doing here, but anyway. I think the underlying sentiment here is there ain't nobody in here what trusts the government. Nobody. This fellow over here, he was talking about the BC thing going on. The Indigenous leader in BC that's been very much involved with CPAW's activity in establishing similar types of land management systems that end up tying in the UN in such a manner that the UN ends up in charge of the resources of that land. That man's name is Joshua Lemons. I would encourage you guys to go to the computer on the website National Citizens Inquiry, the only inquiry of its kind in the world, and listen to Joshua Lemons. Here.
Thank you, Jim. Go ahead.
Bonjour. Oh, that's loud. Anin Shigo. Mushkegi, Mr. Tim, Keka, and Indigenous cause, the Mikanak no dem, broken head of Donji, Akia Donji. So I've just been sitting here listening and you know, to everybody's concerns, and clearly there's concerns in here from everybody's point of view. But one of the things that I think what I've heard here today is that you know, the 3 communities that are up here, Peguis, Jackhead, Fisher River, they have their own concerns. Everybody in here has their own concerns. But the thing that I keep going back, we're living in a time of reconciliation. And it's been repeated over and over in this room that there's no trust, especially it's been focused with you gentlemen. In the spirit of reconciliation, why are we not moving forward together as the 4 communities here, the 3 here, and the 1 here? There's no need. for you guys. And I hope you don't take that personally, but Fisher River has existed under their chief and council, Peguis, Jackhead, and the administration that's representing the community here as well. At what point in time do you streamline the funding to the people and take a step back? Take a step back. That's what I had to say. Jimmy Gwetch, thank you. That's what I had to say. Jimmy Gwetch, thank you.
Sorry, Terry, did you want to follow up on earlier?
Yeah. So it's right on the CPAW's website, and through discussion we clarified something perhaps. Right on the CPAW's website it says the federal government has committed over $1.3 billion for nature conservation. So what part of CPAW's did, I don't know. This doesn't say that exactly,
Okay.
but $1.3 billion.
Okay, so what you're
And
clarifying
it is part of this
here-
initiative, for sure.
Right, what you're saying though is that the government as a whole has committed $1.3 billion to conservation. As a whole has committed $1.3 billion to conservation. Clearly specify that it's all to CPAWs, but
Doesn't
you're
say it's
saying
all to CPAWs,
that there's part of
exactly.
it.
I just wanted to correct that.
Appreciate that. Sure, Sure, final word. Sure, final word.